Believe it or not, you are not behind on Claude Code. You have been reading about it for 6 months, maybe a year. Every video you click on sounds like everyone else figured this out 2 summers ago. Some 25-year-old in a hoodie is shipping a one-person business while you are still trying to figure out whether to pay $20 a month. You are starting to wonder if the door has already closed. The door has not closed. Most people still do not know what Claude Code actually is. The serious version of the answer to "Am I too late?" is no, and the reason is boring. The product shipped at the end of 2024. The skill system most beginners use today is from October 2025, 6 months ago. By the end of this video, you will know more about it than 90% of the people you work with, including the ones you assume figured it out before you. In the next 13 minutes, 3 things. First, what Claude Code actually is in plain English with no jargon. Second, 2 real beginners who started this year, what they were scared of and what they shipped. Third, the 4 minutes on Saturday morning where you stop being someone who reads about Claude Code and start being someone who runs it. The word code in the name has been keeping people out of the room who belong inside it, so before any of that, we fix the name. Here is what most people assume Claude Code is. They assume it is a tool for software engineers. They assume you have to know Python or JavaScript to use it. They assume the terminal, that black window with the flashing cursor, is for a different kind of person, one with a hoodie and a Linux laptop and strong opinions about text editors. None of that is true. A tech writer named Bryan Wolfe wrote a piece earlier this year about his first time with Claude Code. He has an MBA. He runs a small travel brand on the side. He has been writing about technology for 15 years and he had never opened a terminal. His exact words about it, the terminal always seemed meant for a different species of person. Developers, engineers, people proud to wear Linux on their laptops. His first project was not a piece of software. He needed to update the navigation menu on a WordPress travel blog. The menu showed up in 5 different template files and they all needed to match. That is a deeply boring administrative task that a lot of people pay someone $300 to do. He typed the word Claude into his terminal. He described the problem in one sentence. Claude Code read the directory, found the 5 template files, showed him what was inconsistent and proposed the changes. He approved them. The site went live. He wrote, quote, "I still don't love the terminal, but I'm no longer afraid of it. That shift changed what I can do on my own." There is a second person, a content creator named Wyndo who writes a newsletter called The AI Maker. Wyndo is explicit about being non-technical. His exact line is, "The name has code in it and I'm not a technical person." He started using Claude Code in August of 2025. By 2026, roughly 80% of his newsletter operation runs through it. Research, drafts, thumbnails, LinkedIn carousels, content reviews. He wrote about the moment it clicked. "I went from being the middleman between AI and my work to having an AI agent that lives inside my work." Bryan was scared of the terminal. Wyndo was scared of the word code. Both are non-coders. Both shipped real recurring work in the first session. So the first thing to fix is the name. The code in Claude Code is misleading. Most beginner use is not code at all. Here is what Claude Code actually is in one sentence. It is a free app you install on your computer where you talk to Claude, Anthropic's AI in plain English, about your real files in your real folders. That is the whole thing. You open the terminal, you type the word Claude, you press enter, and you are in a conversation with Claude. Claude can read the files on your computer, write new ones, and edit the ones you have. You do not write code to talk to it, you write sentences. A skill is one extra step. A skill is a folder on your computer with one file inside it called SKILL.md. That is a plain text file, the kind you can write in any Notes app. The file has 2 parts, a small header that names the skill and describes when to use it, and a body in plain English that tells Claude how to do the task. 12 sentences in a text file is a working skill. The next time you talk to Claude in that folder, it reads the skill.md and follows your instructions. That is everything. The CLI is free to install. The SKILL.md is a text file. The thing that costs money is the thinking. Every time the skill runs, Claude has to think on Anthropic servers, and that is metered. We will come back to the cost question. Here is what one full week looks like with Claude Code. I am picking the most universal recurring task I can think of, a weekly brief. Pick whichever version of this applies to you. A weekly client status update, a weekly sales summary, a weekly content brief, a weekly research pull, a weekly newsletter draft, the kind of thing you sit down on a Sunday or a Friday and grind out by hand because nobody else will do it. Let us say you write a weekly client brief every Friday afternoon. You pull updates from 3 places: a project tracker, a shared notes document, and your email. You stitch them together into a one-page summary your client reads Monday morning. The whole thing takes you 90 minutes every Friday. You have been doing it for 2 years. You hate that 90 minutes more than you can describe. The week you start using Claude Code, you do not change the task. You do something smaller. You write down in plain English how you write the brief, not how Claude should write it, how you write it, what you pull, what you cut, what order you put it in, the tone you use, the 2 sentences you always start with, the closing line about next steps, 12 to 20 sentences. You save that file as SKILL.md inside a folder called Weekly Brief. Friday rolls around, you open the terminal, you type Claude, you point it at the project tracker file, the shared notes, and last week's email thread. You say one sentence, run the weekly brief skill on these inputs. Claude reads your SKILL.md, reads the 3 input files, drafts the brief in your voice in your structure with your 2 opening sentences. The first draft is not perfect. It probably misses a thing. Maybe it summarized the project tracker correctly but flattened the email thread into one bullet when there were really 2 threads going. You read it, you write down the gap, you go back to your SKILL.md and add 2 sentences. When summarizing the email thread, separate the project status thread from the staffing thread. Treat them as 2 bullets. You run it again. This time it is right. You spend 2 minutes editing what is left. Total time on Friday's brief, 12 minutes instead of 90. The following Friday, the skill is already there. You point it at this week's 3 inputs. Claude drafts, you edit, 8 minutes. The Friday after that, 6 minutes. You realize the skill is now better at the task than the version of you who used to write it by hand at 4 p.m. on a Friday afternoon because the skill is not tired and it does not skip the boring part because it is hungry. Now, here is the move that turns one task into a layer. The skill produced the brief. You realize you can write a second skill that takes the brief and reformats it as a Slack message for the client, and a third skill that takes the brief and drafts a follow-up email. Now your Friday is one command. Claude runs 3 skills in order. You review 3 outputs. You ship. That is what Wyndo meant when he said Claude Code became an agent that lives inside his work instead of him being the middleman. The work happens where his files already are. I want to be honest about where Claude Code is the wrong tool because the videos that lie about this are the ones that lose your trust the second you try to use it. Claude Code is not always on. It runs when you invoke it. So if you need real-time monitoring, alert me when Stripe charges fail, alert me when a file changes. Claude Code by itself is the wrong shape. There are scheduled task features, but the right answer for that kind of always-on watching is usually a different tool. Claude Code does not see your phone, your live camera, or your GPS. It works with files on the computer where it runs. Claude Code is not a polished interface for a non-technical end user. The user is you. If you are building something a customer or a client uses directly, that is a different kind of project, and Claude Code can help you build it, but it is not the customer-facing thing itself. And Claude Code on the standard plans is not the right tool for regulated work that needs audit trails and compliance certifications. Healthcare records, regulated financial documents, anything inside an SOC 2 or HIPAA boundary, you need the enterprise tier or you need to pick a different tool. Bryan Wolfe wrote a line that captures the right shape. He said Claude Code does not make you a developer overnight. It bridges what he called the in-between jobs, tasks that are too complex for a quick edit but do not need a computer science degree. The recurring weekly brief is exactly that shape. Most knowledge work is exactly that shape. Here is the 4 minutes on Saturday. Minute 1. Open your web browser, go to nodejs.org and install Node version 18 or higher if you do not already have it. The installer is a normal installer like installing any other app. Minute 2. Open your terminal. On a Mac, that is the Terminal app. On Windows 11, it is Windows Terminal. Type this npm space install space -g space @anthropic-ai/claude-code. Hit enter, about 30 seconds depending on your internet. Minute 3. Type the word Claude. Hit enter. Your browser will open. Log in with an Anthropic account. If you do not have one, make a new one. New accounts get $5 in free credits, which is enough for several Saturday morning sessions. If you have a Claude Pro subscription at $20 a month, that already includes Claude Code. The free chat tier on the Anthropic website does not include Claude Code, so you do need one of these two paths. Minute 4. Pick one task you do every week. Write down in 12 to 20 plain English sentences how you do it. Save that file as SKILL.md in a folder named after the task. That is your first skill. Type Claude in that folder, describe the task, and watch Claude follow your instructions. The first run will not be perfect. It will miss a thing. That is fine. Read the output, write down what got missed, add 2 sentences to your skill file, and run it again. By Saturday lunch, you have one task that runs in 2 minutes that used to take you 90. That is the whole arc. The SKILL.md template I wrote for the weekly brief is the link in the description, free download. Drop your real recurring task into it Saturday morning, run it, and tell me how the first run went. The same link also gives you the 50 AI business ideas list with the exact tools each one uses. If you want feedback on what you build, I run a free community called Agent Skills Academy. Half the room is over 45. Drop your first skill.md in the Foundations channel and I will read it. What is the one weekly task you do by hand right now that you would hand to a skill first? Comment STARTHERE and tell me in one sentence. I read every comment. You are not behind. You are at minute 1 of Saturday morning.